All right, so we have come to the championship. Finally, it is two number one seeds, Martin versus the Boondocks. Man, I think for me, I don't know about everybody, but maybe a lot of people. I think I always knew Martin would probably end up in this championship round. And so I was expecting that. And then Boondocks is a top dog as well. This is tough. I really thought about it. I took some time to record this before because I wanted to think about it, and I deep dived and I thought about it, and it's still super tough to call. One thing I'll say is that I didn't watch the last season of the Boondocks. I believe there's a fourth season. Like I said, it didn't have the creator. A lot of people said it was bad. I don't know because I didn't see it. But I will say, at least for me, and I haven't watched Martin like in its completion, like in a row. Like I've never sat down and just binged all of Martin. I've seen them all over the years in various places. And I haven't like watched it all in a row recently. So it's hard to say without doing that. But from what I remember, I don't remember any weak seasons. Not to say that Boondocks' first three seasons any of them were weak. It did go off a little bit at the end of the third season where it was kind of like, okay, a little iffy, but I wouldn't say any of the seasons was weak. But from everybody's account, not everybody, but seems to be a consensus that the fourth season was weak. I'm not going to hold it too much against it because I didn't see it. But I would say Martin, I just didn't feel that way about it. Like it wasn't a situation where they replaced Gina, or there was a season when Martin wasn't there and they tried to do everything without Martin. Like it was pretty consistent while it was on the air. So there's that. I think about characters, and as much as I'm like, bruh, man, Hustle Man, Jerome, Roscoe, Shanae, a couple others. And I'm not saying that they're bad. They're obviously great. But Boondocks got iconic characters too. A pimp named Slickback, Gangstalicious, Thugnificent, Stink Meaner, Uncle Ruckus. So they definitely both have that, and they got those iconic moments. And really, maybe you could even say Boondocks has some more iconic moments because they're very pop culture heavy. But it's pretty neck and neck. I do, at the end of the day, probably have to say Martin. I would have to say Martin is my winner of the Black TV tournament, or 90s Black TV for the most part. And it's something, maybe it is the age thing where I just grew up with it and I just have the fond memories. But even now, watching, like, people will post different, parts of the show, different clips, or do some memes and stuff like that. Stuff holds up. It's still funny. And I do believe, first of all, I own the Boondocks complete series, so I know I could sit down and still laugh at that. But it's not as old. And Martin, I could sit down and still laugh at that whenever I see it, when I had cable and it would come on. Anytime, just sit down and watch an episode of Martin. It's going to be hilarious. So they both hold up in that respect. And maybe it's a little bit of the animation versus live action stuff, but as good of a collaboration as Boondocks was, Martin is a star power, and I think that star power leads Martin a little bit over the edge for me as far as Boondocks. So that's where I'm gonna go with. But let me know in the comment section who'd your champion end up being. Please share it around, get the conversation started. While quarantine, we ain't doing nothing anyway. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.